Hello everyone, welcome to Group 6 presentation. My name is Randy Beckford and along with me I have Jeremy Sherman and Patrick George. So tonight we'll be going over the first way, the principle of flow. So throughout this presentation we will be discussing the following. The first way, the principle of flow. How it affects our work, the limitations to progress, how the size of batches of work affects our efficiency. So the first point we would like to talk about is to make our work visible. So the first pointer here says, in manufacturing, it is easy to see who is doing what, where more work can be assigned, and what work is taking the longest. In the workforce, we have a lot of work that we have to do on a daily basis, especially when it comes to in the field of CIT, which where most of us are studying at this time. We want to ensure that things is done in the right way. And if the work is not visible, it's hard for us to be accountable. So the next point talk about with digital work, it's much harder to pin down who is doing what and what goes where. And oftentimes things get misplaced. We don't get the work done in time because we don't have that system of accountability. But once work is visible, it's easy to get that in order. By establishing a public record of who is doing what work, it's easy to answer all these questions and to keep everyone in the loop on the progress of the project, which pretty much summarizes what I just said. So that takes us to point 2, limit work in progress. If too many tasks are assigned to one work center, employees will be forced to multitask, leading to lower quality, slower speeds, and a harsh work environment for employees. Most of us can relate to a harsh environment to work in, and we know what it's like when we have too much work on us. We don't get the job done correctly. The quality of our work or production is not what it would normally be when we have less tasks to do and when we can focus on one task at a time. We all know that there's no such thing as multitasking. It's just trying to get more than one thing done at the same time while messing them all up. The next point says accurate records keeping of who is assigned what work, and a limit to how much work can be assigned to one work center can relieve this problem. So that kind of just give us a solution to the problem of limiting work in progress. Just limit how many work is assigned to an individual workstation or so forth. A DevOps manager is responsible for ensuring that their employees have a fair workload. So, as I said, we're talking about DevOps, and we know the aim of DevOps is to combine development and operations to make them one. And if we have them under one umbrella, it's easy for smooth flow in work. And that's the aim of DevOps. So that takes us to point 3. Make smaller batches. Large batches of work are inefficient due to the time it takes to produce finished product and to the amount of correction that needs to be made if an error is committed on the entire batch. So in this diagram I have, a small batch and a large batch of Oreo. Show you that the large batch has tons of cream in the middle, but it doesn't look neat. It's not like a fine finished job. As opposed to the small batch, you have a small Oreo, it's neatly put together, and that's a reflection of what our work generally looks like when we have too much workload. So doing things in a small batch equals better production. A larger batch usually causes chaos and messy finish, and we don't want that. Small batches of work allows us to create a product as soon as possible so it can get feedback from the customer. It also allows us to correct mistakes easily and fine-tune the process to make later batches more efficient. Smaller batches also allow the project to course correct and abandon a process or a product that is doomed to failure without having excess waste of company's resource. So there we have it, making smaller batches is the key to have that success that we're seeking.
And to pick up at point number 4, we want to reduce the number of handoffs. So time the project is exchanged from one person or department to another, something is likely to get lost in translation. And when you're talking about a project that is transferred digitally, just like the visibility, it ties right back to the visibility and wanting to make sure that we are seeing when it changes hands and trying to limit how many times that happens. The more transitions there are, the more that is lost in the overall process. If something gets lost at every point, if you can imagine playing a game of telephone, but then having that affect your product with the final result. So what do you do about it? How do you mitigate it? You try to automate any part of the overall process that's possible. So that way, if you've worked out in the system what parts can be done automatically by the system itself, then there's fewer hands that need to get involved, and that means that you have to understand the process well enough to automate them, so that way they're going to happen the right way each time. And it allows the human element to do more of the process, and it decreases the potential wait times of one group waiting on another group to complete their portion. Since anything that's in between becomes an automated process, and hopefully taking advantage of the fact that computers can just do it so much faster. Now, that takes us on to point 5, continually identify and elevate our constraints. No process is perfect, and even in a well-defined and set up process, there's going to be some choke point, and the ongoing work should be put into identifying where is that choke point, and that's going to improve your overall efficiency. And to point out why that literally makes a difference, you have to look at the prior, or if you think about it, whenever you identify the choke point, if you try to do improvements on any of the steps before that choke point, things are just going to pile up faster at the choke point. And if you improve efficiency at any of the steps after that choke point, you're just increasing the wait time for any of those points down that path. So automation of the environment and process, whenever possible, addresses multiple concerns. Automated processes are available whenever they're needed, so they don't cause that bottleneck. They are they're invariably going to be faster than anything that can be done by hand. So one of the advantages of using a computerized process, an automated process, and if it is automated, that means it's pre-approved because it's been worked out that this is how the system and the process needs to work automatically. So it's not like you have to go to anyone to see, hey, is this how we should be doing it? So ideally, this leads to the remaining bottleneck being actual content planning and creation, as in the actual interacting with the client and providing them with the final product. So, point number 6, eliminate hardships and waste in the value stream. Any effort that isn't in direct support of the final result is waste. It delays the final delivery of the product, and it adds unnecessary cost. The processes that can be made easier or even eliminated are wasteful until that goal is accomplished. And all of this can cause waste on multiple levels. At any time that a project is sitting, that's time that it's just becoming more and more obsolete. If anybody can remember those FedEx commercials at the speed of business, we as people and consumers just expect companies to deliver features and products before we even realize we need them. And that's just what we need to deliver if we are part of that business. And also, anytime people are waiting, the more productive they want to be, the more likely they are to just say, well, while I'm waiting for this other thing, I'm going to do some work on this other project as well. And they have to shift their entire focus, their context, And that can be a huge waste of time if they're constantly switching back and forth because they're waiting. If they can just focus and get everything done within the same context session, it's far more efficient. And alternatively, they may also try to work around the issue, which again is wasted effort and possibly resources. They talk about heroics in the text, and just a waste. I mean, sure, it feels great to be the hero, but when it's just not necessary, it's really just waste. So, in conclusion, the entire point is to improve the flow through the technology value stream, and how that is essential to achieving the DevOps outcome, because the point is to create the value. And we accomplish this by making work visible, limiting the work in progress, reducing batch sizes, and the number of handoffs we undergo as we continually identify and evaluate our constraints, and by eliminating hardships in our daily work. And these specific practices that enable fast flow in the DevOps value stream, those will be presented in part 4. And next week we'll be getting into a few subsequent chapters about the in the second and third latest possible. And then finally, if you look at our references page, we do reference some of the different resources, including the textbook in particular. And we thank you very much for viewing this presentation with us.
All right, see you guys next week.